unfortunately, guys, he has lost ESPN.
It's about him being a raging crackhead.
You're a sucker. The reason I don't do Big Tigger is because I had a tumor in my upper jaw and they had to take it out, and they had to block the whole right of my sinus with a piece of metal. So ever since I got out the Marine Corps, I can only breathe out of one nostril, boy. I get my blood tested every 3 months for the last 15 years. All narcotic tests have come up 0.00%. I'm 44 years old, little Tigger. You look up my rap sheet. I have never had a DUI or a possession of anything, not even the marijuana I do every day. See, when you real, you can tell the truth about anything.
They blackballed Katt.
And he has lost his $100 million podcast deal. All over some Badusi.
He also skipped over the name that he dropped. She's a very unique name. Now, I'm not going to say her first name, but the family name that she holds is Zuniga. I've been researching, trying to figure out if she's related to the Hollywood Zunigas. Because Daphne Zuniga has ties in some interesting areas behind the scenes. Melrose Place actress. Does anybody remember?
Oh, not Melrose Place. Yeah, 1990s.
Yeah, Daphne Zuniga. She has ties, like I said, some very interesting Hollywood ties. So you messing with this girl who's a child. This man has children older than this girl. Am I lying?
And is that something that, you wouldn't do, for...
I definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress. I mean, you have to have boundaries. You have to have limits that you refuse to cross. For me, I know what they are. They've yet to been challenged, so I don't have to speak on them. I was asked to dribble a basketball on the talk show this morning.
You look good no doing
it. Not that was a dress, but I was like, no, I'm gonna look stupid. At the end of the day, you got to know that you're a brand. Yeah. I'm a brand. You need to protect your brand at all times. When things happen that can possibly affect your brand, your brand can be diminished, and you don't want that to happen. So, protecting my brand is definitely a priority.
But not too long after this interview, Kevin...
In a startling turn of events that's sending shockwaves across the entertainment industry, comedian Katt Williams has once again reignited his long-standing feud with fellow comedian Kevin Hart, this time accusing Hart of actively participating in the takedown of sports commentator Shannon Sharpe. According to Williams, Sharpe's recent losses, including the termination of his ESPN affiliation and a reported $100 million podcast deal, are no coincidence. Williams asserts that Kevin Hart, working in tandem with certain Hollywood insiders, was instrumental in orchestrating the public scandal currently surrounding Sharpe. At the center of the controversy is Gabriella Zuniga, the woman suing Sharpe, whom Williams claims was deliberately sent into his orbit to exploit Sharpe's alleged proclivity for younger women, a vulnerability the industry was reportedly well aware of due to past interviews. Williams, known for his outspoken criticism of Hollywood, backed his claims with what he described as solid receipts, suggesting that this wasn't just personal vengeance, but part of a much larger system of manipulation and control within the entertainment business.
My frustration with Katt Williams comes from, you keep pointing at Hollywood. Hollywood this, the white man, this, and this. When do you take responsibility for your actions? You had the shot.
Katt was in that position at one point.
You were the guy.
Yeah.
You were set up to be the star. You didn't show up to work. You off promo shoots. You off your promo trips that they had set up for you. You became a risk to the studios, which is why the studios stopped with you.
Why was he a risk?
He chose you.
Oh, okay.
Take responsibility for what you chose and say, you know what? I got to fix me, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to stand up for comedy. Mm-hmm. So when you say Tiffany Haddish doesn't deserve or isn't really a comedian and these other women have worked hard, which they have. Mm-hmm. Shouts out to Melanie Camacho. Shouts out to Lunel. Mm-hmm. Shouts out to Leslie Jones, who are all underneath the umbrella of Katt Williams. Katt Williams, have you ever used your platform to bring the people that were under you up? You haven't. So because you haven't, don't knows that now are. I've used my platform and I've brought my guys and girls up. The brand of Kevin Hart is a brand that's expanded so far, whether you like me or not. My presence in comedy will forever be felt because I'm a boss. I sit on the top of it, and the opportunities I'm giving are the ones that I'm creating. So take responsibility for what you did. You. Nobody else did. You don't hear Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, the Kings of Comedy, Seinfeld. You don't hear George Lopez, Eddie Griffin. You don't hear fucking who else can I go down the road of other comedians? Steve Martin, Martin Short. You don't hear the guys that got on top and that made it by doing what they love complain about the people that are coming under them. The reason why is because they're happy with themselves. Don't blame everybody else for your shit. Don't on my sister Light because you're not happy with your shit. This earned, it's not given.
This explosive allegation adds another layer to the well-documented tension between Katt Williams and Kevin Hart, which dates back to years of public spats and philosophical differences about how black men are treated in Hollywood. Williams has long criticized Hart for what he sees as a pattern of selling out, particularly citing an incident where Hart appeared on Saturday Night Live in a wig and dress, despite previously stating he would never do so. This behavior, Williams argues, mirrors a disturbing trend in which many prominent black male entertainers are compelled to cross-dress on screen as a form of initiation or submission to industry demands. The hypocrisy of Hart's public denouncement of such roles, only to later embrace one, struck a nerve with Williams, who accused him of forsaking his integrity for fame. This act, in Williams' eyes, symbolizes a broader betrayal not only of personal values, but also of the cultural dignity of black entertainers striving to maintain authenticity in an environment that often rewards compliance over principle.
If somebody, I read a comment, I don't know why these older men want to date these young girls that can be old enough, that can be young enough to be their daughters and don't find that creepy. I respond to say, I don't know why these women be in everybody's business and don't find that creepy. But why? Hold on. But if Stella can get her groove back, Shay gonna get his groove back. How Shay got his groove back?
Yeah.
Y'all didn't say no for Stella, because I remember I went to the movie and you clap it. Yeah, child. Do it, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Now all of a sudden, Shay trying to get his groove back is a problem.
Yeah, it's a double standard. It's a double standard. Depending on, and sometimes this is what they try to do. Older women, this is what older women try to do. Older women will guilt trip you.
The criticism Williams levels against Hart isn't just rooted in personal disdain, but extends to a broader narrative of systemic manipulation. He draws parallels between Hart's trajectory and that of other entertainers who, unlike Hart, refuse to compromise. One prominent example is Dave Chappelle, who publicly recounted being pressured to wear a dress for a comedy sketch while filming a movie. Chappelle's refusal and the suspiciously quick rewrite of the script that followed highlighted for many the performative nature of these requests and their role in testing boundaries. Chappelle's story went viral and opened up a critical conversation in Hollywood about race, masculinity, and power dynamics. When asked to comment on Chappelle's stand, Hart initially echoed the sentiment, affirming the need for limits and boundaries in one's career. However, Williams and others saw Hart's later actions, specifically his appearance in drag, as a direct contradiction of his supposed principles, proving that he was willing to say anything in public to protect his brand while doing the opposite behind the scenes when opportunity knocked.
I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree. Like when I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, all these brothers gotta wear a dress. This happened to me. I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer. I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here. They come in. The writer comes in. I think he's the writer. He's like, Dave, listen, we got this hilarious scene where Martin's sneaking out of jail. So he disguises you as a... and he put this dress on and, what? No, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with that. That should have been in the discussion. What? You don't feel comfortable with it? I mean, it's a hilarious bit. All the greats have done it. So, well, if all the greats have done it, it's kind of hacky, right? You're right. So why don't we just not do it? Because I don't feel comfortable wearing a dress. Oh, come on, Dave, listen, we got it all set up. We're supposed to shoot. Every minute you waste costs this much money. You know, the pressure comes in. He said, I'm not wearing no dress, man. I'm funnier than a dress. Just give me something funny to say. I don't need to wear no dress to be funny. What am I, Milton Berle? You know, we're going like this. And then finally he's like, and he leaves. And then, like, the director comes, Dave, it really would be great if you wear the dress. And it was clear, I was adamant, I'm not wearing the dress. I'm not wearing the dress. All right, fine. Think of something else. Guy comes back 10 minutes later, the whole new scene. Damn, how did you write the scene so fast?
This interview really shook people at the time.
Williams' frustration doesn't end with Hart's alleged hypocrisy. He also paints a picture of an industry that was actively working to replace him during his rise, citing instances where roles and opportunities were pulled from under him and handed to Hart. According to Williams, this was no accident. Hollywood, he claims, found Hart more malleable, someone who would conform to their expectations without protest. Williams, by contrast, was seen as too outspoken and unwilling to play by their rules. To facilitate this transition, Williams alleges that a smear campaign was launched to tarnish his image, including persistent rumors of drug abuse, which he vehemently denies. He pointed to his clean criminal record and regular drug tests as evidence of his sobriety. These attacks, he believes, were meant to erode public trust in him and justify the industry's decision to freeze him out, while simultaneously elevating Hart as the new face of black comedy and mainstream entertainment. In response to Williams' ongoing critiques, Hart has consistently painted Williams as the architect of his own downfall. During an interview on The Breakfast Club, Hart accused Williams of blaming Hollywood for problems of his own making. Hart claimed that Williams missed key promotional events, became unreliable on set, and failed to uphold professional commitments, which ultimately rendered him a liability in the eyes of studios. He argued that the industry didn't conspire against Williams, but simply moved on when he proved himself untrustworthy. Hart also used the opportunity to position himself as a self-made success, emphasizing how he had helped other comedians rise by giving them platforms and opportunities, something he claimed Williams had failed to do for those who came up under him. Hart's tone suggested that while Williams remained stuck in the past, nursing grudges, he himself had grown into a business mogul with influence and reach, a contrast he believed spoke volumes about each man's legacy and values. Williams, however, remained undeterred by Hart's rebuttals, instead doubling down on his accusations. He pointed to what he viewed as circumstantial evidence supporting his claim that Hart's success was suspiciously rapid and possibly orchestrated. He noted that Hart arrived in Los Angeles and within a year had already landed a lead role in the film Soul Plane and a network television sitcom, an unprecedented rise for any new comedian. Williams suggested that such a meteoric ascent was unlikely without high-level backing. In his view, Hart's story bore the markings of someone selected and promoted by powerful interests, not someone who had merely earned every step through talent and grit. He contrasted this with his own experience of slowly building a career through grassroots support and underground popularity, implying that his authenticity was seen as a threat to those who preferred a more controllable figure in the spotlight. Further intensifying the feud, Kevin Hart appeared to mock Williams during a televised NBA game commentary, joking that Williams had purchased and returned the New York Knicks, and even suggesting that Williams owned an NBA court in his living room. While these jokes were clearly meant to be lighthearted, many viewers interpreted them as subtle jabs meant to discredit Williams and paint him as unhinged. Despite the humor, Williams took this as proof that Hart was indeed bothered by his criticisms and was using his platform to retaliate. He asserted that Hart's apparent calm demeanor was a front, and that behind the scenes, Hart was involved in efforts to ruin not only his reputation, but also Shannon Sharpe's. Williams pointed out that after his interview with Sharpe, several of Sharpe's professional relationships mysteriously dissolved, suggesting that unseen hands were working to isolate and discredit him as punishment for giving Williams a platform. Adding fuel to the conspiracy claims, the woman at the center of the lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe, Gabriella Zuniga, has been linked to Hollywood royalty through actress Daphne Zuniga, raising questions about whether her involvement is more than it seems. Jaguar Wright, another controversial figure, was among the first to point out the possible familial connection, suggesting that Gabriella may have been strategically used to ensnare Sharpe due to his public comments about his attraction to younger women. Shannon's history of making lighthearted but revealing remarks about his preferences in interviews has come back to haunt him, giving credence to the idea that his own words were used to build a narrative against him. This theory paints a picture of a coordinated takedown involving media manipulation, selective outrage, and exploitation of personal weaknesses, all designed to bring down a prominent voice who dared to provide a platform for controversial truth-tellers like Katt Williams. While much of the narrative centers on Williams and Hart, the collateral damage inflicted on Shannon Sharpe cannot be ignored. Though Williams presents Sharpe as a victim of an industry hit job, others argue that Sharpe is facing the consequences of his own choices. Many online have pointed out that Sharpe, a grown man with a prominent public persona, willingly engaged with younger women and made those preferences known. Critics argue that no one forced him into compromising situations and that he bears responsibility for placing himself in positions that could be exploited. Still, Williams insists that the punishment doesn't fit the crime and that the industry's rapid response suggests a premeditated plan rather than organic fallout. He believes that had Sharpe chosen a more discreet or age-appropriate partner, the scandal would have been much harder to engineer, indicating that Sharpe's personal decisions made it easier for those plotting against him to succeed. Behind this entire saga lies a deeper commentary on power, control, and authenticity in Hollywood. Katt Williams has consistently positioned himself as someone who refuses to bow to pressure, rejecting offers, roles, and paychecks that come with conditions meant to silence or shape him. He accuses Hart and others of accepting deals that trade integrity for comfort and exposure, and he's unapologetic in his refusal to do the same. Williams recalled how he was blackballed after refusing to film a scene in Friday After Next involving sexual assault, arguing that comedy should never cross certain moral lines. His principled stance cost him roles, money, and status, but in his eyes, it preserved his soul. Kevin Hart, on the other hand, was more than willing to step into those vacant roles, which Williams claims proves that Hart's brand was built not on authenticity, but on obedience and convenience. It's a brutal indictment of an industry that often punishes principle and rewards submission. Even in the face of relentless pushback, Williams remains unflinching in his stance. He describes himself as someone who walks into a room and lowers heads, not out of fear, but out of respect earned through independence and integrity. He believes that the reason he is both revered and reviled is because he's one of the few entertainers who hasn't taken the shortcut of selling out. Unlike others, he asserts, he has never taken hush money, never agreed to avoid controversial topics, and never surrendered his voice for the sake of a paycheck. This refusal has come at a high cost, including years of being shut out from major Hollywood productions. But Williams argues that his legacy is built on truth, not transaction. His latest clash with Kevin Hart and the surrounding scandal with Shannon Sharpe are, in his mind, not isolated incidents, but symptoms of a much bigger illness in the entertainment world, an illness that rewards silence, punishes dissent, and eats its own when they no longer play the game.